Hello, everyone, and welcome. Whether it be welcome back or whether it be welcome to the channel, I want to thank you for watching. Today, what I'm going to discuss in my long ramblings is the difference between tacticool and tactical. Right? So, I think the biggest difference between the two, at least for me, is ability. So, whenever I see somebody post about how tactical something is or tactical something is, I have to immediately go into the person who's posting that or the person who's saying that or the person who's wearing that's ability, right? And again, this goes back to the term that I'm sure everyone has heard, which is form over function. So, I think the biggest, huge, the most important difference I can make is your ability with whatever you are using is going to really be the difference between tactical and tactical. Here's what I mean. So at work, there are guys who are very into owning firearms. They spend a lot of money on these firearms and they buy attachments for them. Right? Some of them have very, very nice pistols that have Trigicon RMR2s with Surefire X300s on them, and they spent $1,500 on the pistol. And that's a tactical gun. Not because the pistol in any way, shape, or form would be something different than I would personally set up. However, their ability with the pistol is very, very, very severely lacking. And again, this goes back to my argument and what I've said on multiple other occasions and multiple other videos is that you need training. Don't just go out and purchase something. Pay for the training. Pay someone who knows what they are doing, who has done it professionally, and who has done it before to train you. I cannot say that enough. Back to my example, the tactical guys. They're very good at drawing a weapon out of a holster and punching out a bullseye at 10 to 15 yards. However, what I will say about this is it doesn't necessarily mean that they are ready for a combat situation or a scenario for a citizen involved shooting. It in no way, shape, or form the what gear you have has anything whatsoever to do with the ability of you to use a weapon. And that is a huge difference for me. So we're going to go in and we're going to talk about stuff that I see really commonly that I think is really tactical, right? It is really awesome. It's fun to play with, but it doesn't really carry over into the real life application of using said weapons. So what I want to go ahead and start out with is like the biggest example, or like the guys who buy a Mosin Nagant and then they throw an Archangel stock on it and then they throw a red dot on it, or they get these big detachable magazines for them because they actually make crap like that. And then they say, well, my Mosin, I can shoot a 1-inch group at 100 yards. Okay. Right. We are going to go ahead and we're going to just talk about this. So one, I don't believe you. I've shot a lot of Mosins in my life. I've very, very rarely have I even seen them where they perform any kind of decently at a range of more than 100 yards. Now, I 100% guarantee you they are out there. However, there is absolutely no way that everybody who owns a Mosin has a Mosin that shoots a 1-inch group. Two, why on God's green earth did you spend the money to put a big stock on it, with an adjustable cheek piece, a foregrip, a palm swell, a detachable magazine on a rifle that has been antiquated since prior to 1950? I don't understand it. That is an example of something that is tactical. It's done for appearance. It is not done for practice. And that is something that we need to address and we need to all understand. The next thing that I'm going to tell you is this, and it's very, very, very simple. Train. Use your tools, because weapons are tools, the way that they are intended to be used. Train the way that you intend to use those weapons. And what I think you'll find in the event that you actually do follow this advice and you actually do get some training is that the way that you set up something based off of looks is far different than the way that something has to perform based off of function and its intended design. This goes back to putting a huge light on a weapon. This goes back to putting a red dot on it. All that stuff is great. You still have to carry a separate flashlight. Don't use your weapon to identify targets. There's plenty of videos on the internet, and there's plenty of people that do training on the use of weapons lights when you put them on. Don't just blindly purchase a weapons light, put it on your weapon, and think that that is somehow going to make you an expert marksman in the dark, or is going to make it so that you can effectively use that weapon or that weapons platform or weapon system that you have set up. It is not the case. Please understand me when I tell you the reason I'm making these videos are for your best interest. The other thing is a lot of these guys, you can almost immediately tell that they're fake. Right? There's plenty of videos on how to spot fake gun guys, fake gun experts, fake anything. Right? They're there. But when I see somebody who's wearing like 5'11" pants and a grunt style t-shirt, and then they've got like a Glock in like a Glock with still has the factory crappy U sights with the factory crappy front sight. They don't have a pocket knife on them, or they don't have a knife on them. They don't have a flashlight on them, and it's in a Black Hawk outside the waistband, like level 2 retention holster. Those guys, I'm sorry, man. They just they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're talking about. They have no clue about what's going on. And it's very, very adamant and very, very clear, right? So one, they wear the pants that don't fit correctly. They're too tight in the crotch. They don't allow for flexibility. They don't allow for movement. That very clearly tells me that you're somebody who's way more impressed with how something looks and how something performs. The next thing is those grunt style t-shirts are incredibly thin. I've owned a bunch of them. I think they look cool. I think they look good. I usually like to wear them as an undershirt. And the reason for that is I found that I can rip them very, very easily. As soon as I go to, move through the woods or move through any kind of environment where anything's going to poke out or prod or protrude, I rip them. They're very comfortable, which is why I think they make a wonderful undershirt. However, if that's all you're wearing as a shirt, I don't think it's a good, viable option. The other thing is, like, you can tell a lot based off of someone's ability, someone's preparedness, off of their shoes. So sometimes you have and you wear and you do things based off of necessity, training, or budget. If you go out and you purchase surplus military boots, and that's what you wear, and you're not in the military and they weren't issued to you, what I'm going to tell you is even the guys in the military that have the option don't buy the surplus military boots. Like, I happen to like my Danners that I can wear, right? One of my buddies who's in the Marine Corps, and he told me that, hey, if you're going to get a pair of these tactical boots, these are really good to wear. They do meet Marine Corps regulations, at least that's what he told me. I didn't look into it. I don't really care. But he said they're a lot more comfortable. They hold up a lot better. They offer more ankle support than whatever the standard issue ones are for the Marine Corps. Again, that's not the point I'm trying to make. I don't know if they actually meet the wickets and the requirements for for the uniform requirements. That's not the point. My point I'm trying to make is if somebody who is in the Marine Corps is purchasing a boot not issued to them that is more expensive than the issued boot that the Marine Corps offers, when you see somebody not in a uniform wearing the surplus Marine Corps boots around, it should be a very good indication this is somebody who likes to look the part, but in reality doesn't really have the knowledge to make a successful decision. I also happen to know plenty of people who have gone on deployments where they're allowed to wear the shoes they want to wear, and they wear completely different style of shoes or boots than what is standard military issue. Solomons are really popular. I know a couple guys that have worn the Danners. They're really popular. Hiking boots are really popular. And what I've came to deduce about that is, hey, your footwear really matters. And just because it's what the military issues does not mean that it is the best selection for you and your needs. And what you'll find is most people tend to avoid military issue stuff for the simple fact that anybody who actually understands what military issue is and what goes into military issue will understand that it is made by the lowest bidder for the most that they can get per dollar. And it's not necessarily the highest of quality. And by not necessarily, I'm going to tell you it is not the highest of quality. So that's another good indication that somebody is tacticool and not actually tactical in their daily oncomings and passerbys, right? So look at their shoes, look at their pants, look at their shirt, look at their belt. So the Cobra Riggers belts are really cool. I happen to really like them. I wear them regularly. Um, but they don't necessarily make the best gun belts. What I found is the companies that make a specifically designed gun belt that has extra reinforcement in it that prevent it from sagging, that keeps your weapon in place securely, those are really the belts to get and to wear. A lot of the Cobra Rigger belts, especially the thicker ones, of higher brand name and higher quality, are phenomenal at carrying firearms. But the cheaper ones, the cheaper nylon ones, you know, the ones that you're paying $10 to $20 a piece for the belt, what I found is those are just general crap. I happen to wear one with my uniform every day when I go to work and when I wear it around. That is uniform compliant, and it was almost $75 for a good quality Cobra Riggers belt. And I think that's a really important point to bring up as well. Is look at the quality of what they're wearing. You know, is it something that looks the part but doesn't necessarily perform the part? Or is it something that looks the part and performs the part? Or is it something that doesn't look the part at all but performs it really, really well? And I think that's very important to evaluate as well, is how well does what you have perform as what you need it to do? An example I really want to give you here is the FNX 45 Tactical, right? The hammer fire double action pistol that has an RMR cut on it. Really easy to put a light on. Pretty good trigger in the double action where the hammer, or the single action where the hammer's pulled to the rear, really heavy in the double action, and it's still a striker fire pistol. Yeah, it's a great gun. I own one. I very much enjoy shooting it. It's not necessarily a great carry pistol because it has that long trigger pull. It has a very heavy trigger pull for the first round. It being a 45 holds 15 rounds. However, it's very, very heavy when you load a magazine of 15 rounds and you add an additional round to the magazine after you chamber a round. Very heavy. I found that the safety also kind of gets a little bit weird because it's actually a 3-position safety. So you can lock the hammer to the rear, put the weapon on safe. You can have the hammer locked to the rear, take the weapon off safe, and then if the hammer's locked to the rear and you push it down, the safety works as a decocking lever. All of these things are wonderful features and very convenient. However, when you're using it to carry, what I found is I've actually drawn the weapon, went to take it off safe, and when I was induced stress off of either a timer, somebody shooting next to me, fireworks going off, whatever the case may be, I tend to push that hammer down, or that safety down too far, and decock the weapon. And now I have that very long trigger pull that takes a little bit more time, and on top of that, it was something I didn't expect to happen. It didn't necessarily rattle me, but it did take longer than I anticipated to get the shot off. So what was the long way of saying that a way better pistol to be carrying in that situation would have been just a standard Glock. Now, whether or not you want to carry a red dot on your pistol, that's entirely up to you. That's something you'll have to do your research on, you'll have to train with, you'll have to go to classes and talk to different instructors and different professionals who have been in real gunfights about what they recommend as your carry optic or sight for your weapon. The biggest ones that I'm going to say that I have any kind of experience with, I like the XS Big Dots, I like the Trijicon RMR2. I'm a big fan of them. The SRO is really nice. I have it on a couple of pistols, but it's not as rugged as the RMR2. And I don't like the regular RMR because you do have to remove it in order to replace the battery. I've got friends that have the RMR2. They absolutely love it. All of mine are the standard RMRs or RMO6s. Nothing special, nothing new. They work, and they're on pistols that I use mostly to plink at the range with. I carry them sometimes, not very often. And that's another point I want to bring up is the difference between somebody who's tacticool and tactical is their ability to perform, right? I think we've kind of touched on this throughout the entirety of this video. However, what I do want to say is somebody who's actually tactical in their daily proceedings, daily routes, passages, how they interact with other people, they're a lot more observant. They've taken classes or have had training in what to expect out of people, how to set themselves up to most likely maximize success at whatever facet that they may be accomplishing at that point in their life. However, they're not going to be super quick to violence, at least the very, very professional ones. They will, however, choose to act violently enough, quick enough, but it will not be their first choice. A lot of these people that are actually professionals and not just tactical guys walking around will choose to avoid a situation entirely whenever possible. And that's because they've had the training to recognize a situation early enough that they're going to avoid it. They're not going to put themselves in a position where it could happen. Again, there's plenty of videos online about how to recognize situations, how to make a good decision fast enough. But if you're watching these videos and you're making decisions and you're choosing to put an arm on a pistol, and you haven't been to a fighting pistol class, you haven't been to a carbine class, you haven't been to a self-defense class, that would be a tactical decision, not a tactical decision, because you can't really justify what you like about it. You've never been in a situation where you've had to work that weapon under stress at varying ranges with varying types of ammunition under various weather conditions or current situations. And that's what I want to portray here. You need, in order to progress from tactical to tactical, you have to go through those trainings, and you have to put yourself in situations where you're uncomfortable, not unsafe, but uncomfortable in order to progress. And I hope you're watching this, and as a reminder, always stay frosty.